Hey everyone, welcome to the Wrestling Experience.
Where Amos must have set a record for something, right? Because he was the person with the most eliminations in the Royal Rumble for not being a competitor in the Royal Rumble.
Man, I cannot wait for them to talk about that every year when they do the by the numbers video where they talk about Omos, the guy that was not in the Royal Rumble, having more eliminations than some people in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, it's got to be a stat, right?
It's got to be a stat. Well, I'm Jess,
And I'm Johnny.
and we are here to recap the Royal Rumble. We are doing this one day after just so we can soak our emotions and we can kind of think about what happened because, again, Royal Rumble, I've said this many, many times, is my favorite pay-per-view that the WWE produces. And hands down, I think that this was a great showing from the beginning to the end.
I am on the same boat. I agree. I really enjoyed this show, and I thought that almost every match went the way it should have, and we're all happy about it.
Yeah, like this match that ended up being on the pre-show. We have the women's tag team champions Asuka and Charlotte versus Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. And
Now, let me tell you,
yes,
our predictions were not looking good. A title change on the pre-show, we were sweating, but
yeah, it happened though. I mean, it kind of made sense the way that it happened too, because we're like, is Asuka really gonna look weak and take the pin? There's no way that Charlotte was gonna take the pin, and they did it in such a way that kind of protected both of them. Even if it was Charlotte that took a pin, we hear Ric Flair's theme song, right? That hits, and essentially, Lacey Evans, shenanigans, all that stuff going on. All that to say that Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are your new women's tag team champions, and these titles, I have no idea what they're doing with them.
I did feel like Asuka was sleeping for a long time for that whole finish to take place. It involved Lacey Evans distracting Charlotte, pulling her bridge from the figure eight to break the submission, which the ref didn't see. Don't know how he didn't see it. And then Ric Flair handing her brass knucks so that when Charlotte went back into the figure eight, she could do the women's ride with brass knucks and knock her out. So, yeah, Asuka was sleeping for quite a bit there. But otherwise, yeah, new tag team champions. Pre-show, we had some other stuff, right? Everyone gave their opinions and stuff. Booker T was there. JBL was there.
Yes, exactly. So,
but main card, right?
The main card, exactly. And we are opening with the WWE Championship, and we have Drew McIntyre versus Bill Goldberg. When this was happening, basically, I was talking about how I was very, very nervous at the placement of this match because I'm like, well, they might actually have Drew McIntyre lose this. People getting pissed, but then the action was going to get so much better that people were going to forget about it. Or if Goldberg loses, then he might enter the Royal Rumble. The great thing is that none of these things happened. Drew McIntyre comes in.
Joy.
Goldberg comes in. And Drew McIntyre
Goldberg came out first.
Yes, sorry. So before the bell even rings, though, Drew McIntyre just ambushes Goldberg. And the action gets taken outside, and Goldberg spears Drew McIntyre into the barricade, and Drew McIntyre is basically holding onto his ribs at this point. And he's definitely injured. He gets back in.
Shades of Hell in a Cell, right?
Exactly. He gets back in, and he tells the ref to ring the damn bell, because he's going to fight no matter what. And, man, it was basically finish, kick out, finish, kick out, finish, pin. Right?
Yeah. And the right man did it. So, yeah, Drew McIntyre kicked out of like 2 spears and a jackhammer that looked good until it wasn't. And I think it was all Drew, with that core strength, keeping a straight body as Goldberg lifted him up. But then the way he fell down was not so great. And then finally, Claymore for the win, right?
Not many people kick out of the Claymore. And Goldberg kicked out of the first Claymore. But... that last Claymore just, hit him square in the head. And Bill Goldberg was seeing stars afterwards.
This was pretty much like Brock Lesnar and Goldberg match at like WrestleMania a few years ago. It was pretty much the same thing. It was entertaining for what it was. The right person won. There's no need to complain. We can just move on and be happy that Drew is still the champion.
Now, the thing is, though, post-match, there was a kind of, a show of respect between the two of them. Goldberg just kind of looks at him and he says that you've passed the test. They hug, and again, like he offers his hand, and clearly there's a show of respect. And Goldberg is gassed, and he's leaning, and he exits the ring, and we see Drew McIntyre celebrating with his successful title defense. Now let's move on to Sasha Banks versus Carmella. Now this was a really, really good match. We were talking about how great the match was, and then the match ended. I'm very surprised at the short length of the match. Again, like Sasha Banks looked amazing. There was one spot where I thought that Carmella almost lost her neck, where when she did the suicide dive and she just slid as if the ring was made of oil or something like that, but she just slid and she basically hit herself pretty bad. And Sasha, the great competitor that she is, the great human that she is, actually checked up on her, and that was actually caught on camera. But yeah, I mean, I thought this was a great match. Carmella and Sasha, they have such great chemistry. You know, I always said that, like, you know, you could put anyone with Sasha Banks in a match and they're gonna have a great match, but that's giving Sasha all the credit, and I feel like that's not fair. I feel like Carmella actually deserves a lot of the credit. Carmella did an incredible job, and even if she did not win, even when Reginald was there and Reginald was causing the distraction, Reginald was taken out though, and he was kicked out also by the referee.
He was ejected from the ring dramatically, yes.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, the boss was just too much.
Yeah, this was a pretty solid match. A little bit short, maybe because we have 2 1 hour Royal Rumbles coming up, or maybe because we have to have a music performance that nobody cares about. Not sure. I really enjoyed Sasha's offense. She had the 3 amigos. She had 2 frog splash attempts. She was able to get out of the cone of silence in a clever way. It did feel that the ending was a little like sudden all of a sudden after some quick exchange. After Carmella counters with some great super kicks, all of a sudden Sasha Banks gets the bank statement in and wins. That felt a little bit rushed, but other than that, a good match.
Yeah, so...
And we predicted Sasha winning, so far we're pretty good. I mean, you didn't... I noticed you skipped over the predictions for Drew McIntyre and Goldberg because you didn't want to admit that you were wrong, which is fine. But
I just listen, I didn't want us to pick the same thing, so I just went on a limb and I picked Goldberg. So it's more exciting than us picking the same things, right? We're best friends and most likely we're gonna have the same choices. So anyways,
as Miz would say, correct.
So now we're gonna go backstage. We have a segment between Big E and Xavier Woods at the beginning. Big E talks about them giving a full 60 minutes and that's gonna change their lives. And
wrestling gods.
That's it. Yeah. In walks in Sami Zayn and he mocks them. Again, talking about the wrestling gods, and you know, he said the gods gifted them enough by giving Big E his Intercontinental title, right? Because it still belongs to Sami Zayn apparently, and he basically predicts how, you know, he's surprised that he wasn't number 1, number 2. You know, he's not worried because he sees everything, he's seen it all, and he has eyes in the back of his head. Anyways, the whole bragging is going on, and then Kofi kind of just yells from behind and scares Sami Zayn, even scares me a little bit. And
he did. They reunite.
Yeah, exactly. They have fun at his expense, and it was great though because they show off their gear, and it was Brody Lee, Luke Harper gear, which was really, really nice. And again, like, yes, they might be on different shows, but you know, again, they're still family. And man, do you want to talk about this crappy musical performance?
No, I don't have any notes for it, so I really don't know what to say.
But anyways, like...
But it's like Booker T's there and some artist who I don't even remember his name. But
Bad Bunny. So Bad Bunny is singing, and Booker T is just standing still like a hologram, and he just says, "Can you dig that sucker?" at the end, and that's about it, man. The less that's said, the better.
What a payday for Booker T. Let's move on. It's the Women's Royal Rumble.
Oh yeah.
And we get Bayley, the Iron Woman, as the number 1 entrant, and we have a surprise number 2 entrant returning Naomi.
Yeah, so instead of basically going over all the entrants and talking about it, I'd be curious to know, like, what were like some notable moments for you that like kind of marked you and you're like, hey, this was a really, really good match. Because again, this is probably the best women's Royal Rumble match, and this could be like a recency bias. That's fine, but before I kind of talk about the moments that I really enjoyed, what were the key things that you really liked, instead of kind of going over like this happened, that happened, and like who got eliminated and whatever?
Well, yeah, because we'll be here all day. But Billie Kay came out relatively early. She was on commentary, and then after every person came out after her, like, she would go up to them, try to hand out her resume and try to team up. Toni Storm like rejected her. Shotzi shot the cannon, the missile right at her. But another surprise return, Jillian Hall was totally on board with this, and they became Billy and Jilly, which was a great little teamwork. Victoria made a return, which was amazing. I was marking out. She hit the Widow's Peak on Peyton Royce, I think, which was great. Unfortunately, we wanted Peyton Royce to like team up with Billie Kay, but she came out later, so Jillian Hall already took the spot.
Yeah.
Rhea Ripley came out midway through the match, had an impressive showing, of course. We saw Tori Wilson return. It was great. One of the entrants was Ric Flair, but it actually wasn't. It was Lacey Evans in a robe that distracted Charlotte, who had already entered the match a couple entrants back, which was nice. We saw Mickie James return. Alicia Fox showed up, and there was a quick 24/7 title spot, which I thought was great. R-Truth was there. He wanted to enter the Royal Rumble, and she was like, wrong Royal Rumble, and then she ended up winning the 24/7 title. And then the rest of the division showed up, and there was that. R-Truth managed to win it back later at some point. Carmella made an appearance, of course, and like we said, Reginald did get that spot where we said he would save her at least once. Mm-hmm. Toward the end of the match, we had Ember Moon show up, which was cool. Nia Jax came back, and she did a whole bunch of eliminating. She even eliminated her partner, Shayna Baszler. Alexa Bliss did not perform as well as I had predicted. She came in. She was on the verge of having a Fiend transformation, which I thought was going to be interesting. But then Rhea Ripley just kind of took her out. So maybe that's a feud that's going to show up. Who knows? Great. It'd be a perfect one. Lana returning brought a tear to my eye. Lana finally eliminated Nia Jax. She finally got a 1-up, which was great. And just the ending was very, very suspenseful. It was great. We had Bianca Belair. We had Rhea Ripley. Charlotte was there as well. Natalya was number 30, who turned on Lana, unfortunately. So Lana couldn't make it to the Final Four and win the Rumble. And we were so happy to see that Charlotte got eliminated by the effort of Rhea and Bianca. And then they had a good one-on-one show-off where your pick, Bianca Belair, wins the title. Not the title, but the title opportunity, and wins the Rumble.
Man, that's really funny, because I asked you like what your favorite moments were, and you just gave me like a full recap of the Royal Rumble.
I did, because it was so great.
So essentially, if again, so my favorite moments was also, you mentioned Billie Kay. I thought that was, it was really nice, and I thought it was hilarious. She's probably like the funniest woman on the roster. I did enjoy when they did knock someone out, and Peyton was doing the iconic stance, and she's like, let's do it together, iconic. And then Billy was about to do it, but then Ruby Riott looked, and Billy's like was kind of torn, and unfortunately Billy gets eliminated by the Riott Squad, and Peyton's reaction in the back was really, really sad. That was an ultimate heel turn. Like the Riott, and Ruby was super proud of what she did too. Like are the Riott Squad heels now? Yeah, I know, it's I don't know, but again, so there's some great moments, but again, the right person won. Bianca Belair is an absolute star. Her post match interview was just full of emotions, where she's crying and she's thanking her mom and her dad and Montez Ford, her husband, believing in her and her journey and supporting her. There's no other better way of writing a full-on baby face that you can get behind than Bianca Belair. So really, really happy, and again, was really not surprising seeing Rhea Ripley put on the effort that she did. I'm pretty sure Vince McMahon sees them as kind of 1A 1B, the next big stars. But yeah, so it was actually really, really funny to see Shayna Baszler getting eliminated by Nia Jax, only for Nia Jax to be eliminated by Lana. And also I found it very weird that Natalya wore gold for the first time and she wasn't wearing pink. I couldn't tell the difference between Natalya and Lana. It was odd. Yeah, it was really, really odd. But yeah, so again, the right person won, in my opinion. And again, post match, it was just really, really lovely to see. And quite a contrast between the Women's Rumble and the Men's Rumble, where the remaining superstars in the Women's Royal Rumble were like, maybe their average age was like below 30, whereas in the Men's Royal Rumble, the average age was like almost 40. So that's going to be an interesting comparison when we get to it. But before, you were going to make your smooth transition to the last man standing match, and I stole your thunder. No, well, I mean, there is a backstage segment with Miz and Morrison. Hey, ho, ho, okay, whatever. So they knock on Bad Bunny's door, and they have some sort of business proposition for him. They just kind of talk about how the three of them, I guess, with their music careers or whatever, it'll be great. Anyways, they just kind of lost me there. It's important, though, because it plays in the end. Ultimately, Bad Bunny kind of turns them down, refuses their offer. They basically start mocking Booker T and ask him like why he's so fond of him, blah blah. And then unaware that Booker T is actually behind them, and then he just says, "Tell me you did not just say that," catchphrase. and yeah, they just kind of walk off scared. And before the match, there's also a segment with a kickoff show panel where they're talking, and then R-Truth comes in and he gets pinned by Peter Rosenberg, who's now the new 24/7 champion. And JBL says that this might be the worst event in the history of ever. I thought that was pretty funny.
And somebody has to clip that.
Yep, and now we are going to go with, man, it's really hard to say, but for me, this was the best match of the card. We're going to have Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens in a last man standing match. I still think that's the best match of the card, even with that weird finish, which was unfortunate, the way that it ended, because it was no one's fault. But this is where you do an ad-lib and you figure stuff out, and unfortunately that didn't happen. But again, I mean, we can definitely go over like the whole match. What I personally liked is the fire in Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens, man, there were so many moments where he was actually brutalizing Roman Reigns. The action got taken, again, in the ring, outside the ring, where the fans were, where like the whole Thunderdome crowd is. Roman is beating the crap out of Kevin Owens, and he's doing that, and he's kind of bringing him higher and higher, and you're like, oh my god, someone's gonna fall, and it's gonna be Kevin Owens because he's crazy, and you can see Roman kind of like stumbling a little bit, and he's about to fall. Kevin Owens hits him with the stunner, but unfortunately Kevin Owens is the one that kind of goes through that table, and I was like, man, what is this guy made of?
But it wasn't over there.
It wasn't over. It really wasn't over. The action gets taken. I mean, Kevin Owens is like limping at this point, but he's able to like basically crawl and walk his way backstage outside. And now there's like another. Like it shows you how big the stadium is, because now you have, let's say, like another ring. I guess where they do training or something like that. Like
Roman Reigns runs Kevin Owens over with a golf cart, which from out of nowhere, that was crazy.
Golf cart out of nowhere, that was insane. And then Kevin Owens is still not down.
Yeah, and he gets fired up after Roman starts to talk about his dad. That's when
his grandpa, yeah,
and that's when Kevin Owens like goes the distance. He fights back. He ends up doing a senton onto a table from the forklift from like really high up, which was crazy.
It was I don't understand like how anyone can just fathom, like just even think about doing that, but we saw that.
I was certain that Roman was gonna roll out of the way and not take the impact, but he took the whole thing, and it was brutal. And then the fight reaches its climax when they reached back to the stage area where Kevin Owens went through the table, and then there was some handcuffs, which played an important role in the storyline, right? He's able to handcuff Roman to like a part of the set, and Roman takes out the ref, and then he's able to like counter with a low blow on Kevin Owens, and then that's where your shady finish happens, right? Where you're like, there was a critical mistake, right, with Paul Heyman.
Here's the thing, okay? So the ref is counting, and he's at 9, and then Roman Reigns, out of desperation, throws the ref out, and the ref is knocked out. So Kevin Owens was about to win, unfortunately didn't happen. Now this is where Paul Heyman comes in with the key, and I don't know if it was just chained really tightly or just the area was like just a small surface, but Paul Heyman was just not able to open up the handcuffs, and the referee though is starting to count. So he's counting 1, 2, 3, because the referee thinks that Paul Heyman is gonna open it, and then Roman Reigns can get up. The referee's counting, and then he counts at 5, and then he sees what's going on, and then he stops counting.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely immersion breaking for sure.
But this is where, if I'm Paul Heyman, if I know that this is happening, why don't I just get up and attack that second referee also? Or if I'm Roman, why don't I just grab the referee by his collar and attack him also? You know what I mean? Because you have the referee that's in the middle of the frame, and he's counting, and all of a sudden he's not counting anymore, and you're wondering what the hell is happening. And then Roman realizes that it's going to take forever, so he kind of gets up. But and then when that's happening, Kevin Owens is sleeping.
Yeah, this is all happening. Kevin Owens is knocked out from a low blow, right? Nothing else happened. I just
feel really bad because everyone's gonna talk about this moment as we are right now, right? And they're gonna forget the amazing match that they had before. But for me, again, I'm like discounting all that, and I'm saying that this is still the best match on the card. I just kind of wish that, like the finish wasn't botched to this level, because this was a botch in a very, very big scale. Like, a lot of things could have been done to prevent this. But I guess, it's kind of hard for us when we're not on the spot, when we're not in the moment. Maybe they just,
I mean,
I don't know.
I imagine the ref was connected to the back, and they were saying stop the count. Like that must have been what happened. But yeah, Paul Heyman knocking out the second ref would have just made sense, right? And it would have played into the storyline since he could have taped up his hands like he did when he wanted to fight Adam Pearce. It's unfortunate that Adam Pearce didn't get involved. Maybe like that would have been interesting, like to thwart Paul Heyman at some point.
Yeah.
But I guess the way it finished was satisfying enough. So great match.
Yeah.
Just finish was a little weird.
So we're gonna jump to our final match. We have the 30-man Royal Rumble match, and it starts with the Rated R superstar Edge. And I'm like, wait, wasn't he number 2? Wasn't he picked as number 2? But apparently it was switched, and he was number 1 now.
I think it was announced that way, that Orton was number 1 and Edge was number 2, and we're like, oh, well, Edge gets the entrance first, Orton is number 2. They have the greatest wrestling match ever, part 2. You called it, right? Number 3 was Sammy, and he didn't really complain about being number 3. It was kind of great for him because they just quickly teamed up on Edge. Poor Edge. He got a beating early on. Like, Ali was number 4. The only person to come save him was Jeff Hardy, but Jeff Hardy didn't really do much in this match, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
What other great moments did you like? I'll let you accidentally recap the whole thing like I did.
No,
for
I'm not going to
women's.
recap the whole thing. I mean, listen, at the beginning, I did like the whole Sami Zayn, Orton, and Ali trio where you're right, where they're beating down on Edge, and then Randy Orton gets taken out really early. He hurts his knee or something like that, and I thought that was legit, but it turns out to be a storyline thing. So Randy
They were
Orton,
focusing on him too much for it to be legit.
I know, but basically Randy Orton gets taken out, and he gets taken to the back, so Randy Orton's out of the match, so you know that he was going to come, and this is where I was like, all right, Edge is going to be in the top 4, that's for sure. And then,
like we predicted, right?
yeah, exactly. And then surprisingly, the first person to get eliminated was Jeff Hardy. Nakamura comes in. There's some great stuff between Nakamura and Ali. And then the first big surprise was Carlito, a very, very jacked Carlito. And
Yeah, he looked like those whatever was in those apples. I don't know.
And essentially, he enters the ring. Nakamura steals the apple from him, but Carlito hits him with the backstabber. Carlito was in the match for a long, long time. And then basically we have Xavier Woods and Big E and Zayn. They're kind of, fighting through all of this. And this is where, again, Elias comes in. So for me, it wasn't that it was a lull, but it really picked up when Damian Priest showed up. And holy crap, man. Damian Priest was... Like, this was a great debut. If this is a main roster debut for Damian Priest, this is a great showing. And
A well-deserved debut as well. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And essentially, Damian Priest is just killing it out there. Even Bad Bunny shows up at one point, and he does like a top rope splash on Miz and Morrison. I'm like, all right, whatever. And
It's because Miz makes his entrance and he like damages all the equipment that was left on stage, right? And then it was Priest that takes them both out while they're distracted, and then he encourages him to dive on them, which was nice.
Yeah, and then at one point Daniel Bryan comes out, and he was my pick. Unfortunately, we all know what happens. And then Kane comes out with his mask on and everything, and then Kane gets eliminated by Damian Priest so quickly, and I was like,
wait, you forgot about the hug it out with Daniel Bryan and Kane. That was
I was gonna mention it, but like my favorite moment of Kane was when he hugged it out with Daniel Bryan, because Daniel Bryan just yelled out his name. He's like, Kane, I was so happy to see you.
But then he choke slammed him.
Yeah, it was bad. Kane
so he
Kane
deserved to be eliminated by Priest there.
And after this, honestly, listen, like a bunch of people came. Otis came, got eliminated right away. Dominic Mysterio came, fought a bit. Baron Corbin gets eliminated.
You know how they say like you can't eliminate Big Show because he's so big, but like Otis is also short, so it's not like you can like just start pushing him and you'll go over the ropes because he's about as tall as the third rope. So it's like, how do you eliminate Otis? But we answered our question because he went for a top rope splash and Corbin just tackled him off, which was
and now,
disappointing.
The last surprise was I really did not expect it, but Captain Charisma himself, Christian, one more match.
This was the greatest moment of the Royal Rumble.
It really was, honestly. Like I'm so happy for him. Again, it's Edge
was freaking out. Riddle was freaking out. Lashley was ready to fight Christian, and Christian eliminates him immediately. Lashley had a great showing. He was the one who took out Priest. He had come out like not too long after. Elias took out Carlito as well, so that might be a feud that's coming out soon. AJ Styles is in by this point. Rey Mysterio comes in.
Yeah.
This is where Omos eliminates people and saves AJ like a million times, which was very interesting. But Christian and Edge have a hug it out moment as well, which is the second hug it out moment in the entire Rumble, which was cool. Imagine that. Riddle wanted to be a part of it, but they just like took him out. So poor guy.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we had the last few entrants. Sheamus came out, Cesaro, the returning Messiah, Seth Rollins, and our 30th entrant was Braun, which was a little bit lackluster, I felt. But the final four was a false final four, right? It was Braun, Seth, Christian, and Edge. Mm-hmm. Seth really wants to team up with Braun Strowman, but Braun's like, nah, and he takes him out. And then it's a team effort with Edge and Christian to take out Braun Strowman. They're able to kind of take him out. And Seth Rollins eliminates Christian in the process while they take out Braun.
Yeah.
But, of course, Edge is able to take out Rollins, and we're happy because we think Edge wins. But remember what you said about Orton? He's right there for a surprise RKO, and you think he's going to take it, but Edge is able to withstand the RKO and eliminate Orton and become the winner of the 2021 Royal Rumble.
Yep, so Edge is the winner. I have no idea where they're going to go with this. Is he going to face Drew? Is he going to face Roman? I
hope it's Roman.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so too. It just, it kind of sucks about the whole Daniel Bryan stuff because it was just basically written in the stars. And
when you think about it, though, the more you think about it, the more it makes sense. Like, if they're going to give the win to a part-timer, why wouldn't it be Edge who's more popular than Daniel Bryan, right?
No,
it kind of makes sense in retrospect. And hopefully we get an Edge and Christian reunion, and maybe they'll face like the Usos at Fastlane or something. And as part of the build to Roman Reigns versus Edge, Spear versus Spear. We're getting Spear versus Spear finally.
Yeah, exactly. So again, there's different ways that they can definitely go about this. It was really nice to see the Messiah return. Hopefully, steers clear from the Mysterio family. But overall, again, this was an incredible pay-per-view. Looking forward to Monday Night Raw. Looking forward to SmackDown. The road to WrestleMania has officially begun, man.
Yep, 69 days away or whatever.
Yeah, 68, something like that. But, let us know what you guys think in the comments. Were you guys happy with Bianca Belair and Edge as your Royal Rumble winners? If you do enjoy our content, we would appreciate it if you would like our video. And if you would subscribe, that goes a long way. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Please like and subscribe. I can't wait. Are we going to find out who Edge is going to face right away, or is it going to be one of those long...
Yeah, listen, you know what, though? The one thing that I'm afraid of, and this is a legit, fear of mine, is that between now and WrestleMania, Randy Orton is going to get the title off Drew McIntyre, and it's going to be Randy Orton versus Edge for the title.
That is something I think that they wanted to do, but after the way Drew McIntyre just destroyed Goldberg, it doesn't make sense. Like I can't see Drew McIntyre losing to Randy Orton unless it's like Elimination Chamber shenanigans with Money in the Bank and Orton picks the scraps or something. I don't know.
I that's just a feeling that I have, so I really hope I'm wrong, but I think that it's going to be Randy Orton versus Edge at WrestleMania, which sucks.
Oh boy.
But anyways, we'll see.